Am I the asshole for not giving my inheritance money to my struggling sibling? When my parents passed, they left me everything. Not out of favoritism, but because I was the only one they trusted. My sibling, let's call them Alex, had spent their life making reckless choices and expecting others to clean up the mess. Rehab stints, get-rich-quick schemes, failed relationships. You name it. So when I inherited the house, the savings, and the insurance payout, I thought, finally. Peace. But Alex came knocking, asking for a small share. Then a loan. Then a demand. And when I said no, they didn't just try to ruin my name. They tried to ruin my life. But if Alex thought I'd roll over just to keep the family peace, they forgot who they were dealing with. This isn't a story about money. It's about power. And I'm about to take back every inch they tried to steal from me, starting with the last name we share. It started with a knock. Not a polite one. Not a sorry for your loss kind of knock. The kind that says, you owe me. I opened the door and there they were, my sibling, Alex. Disheveled. Not in the sad, grieving way. In the I've got an agenda and I'm barely hiding it way. They didn't even say hello. You got everything, Alex said flatly. Not how are you? Not I'm sorry about mom and dad. Just you got everything. And that's when I knew, whatever family we had left died with our parents. Let me rewind. I'm Morgan. I'm 32. Oldest of two. My parents weren't rich, but they were smart. Saved, invested, planned. They worked 2 jobs each so Alex and I could go to college debt-free. Only one of us did. I graduated with honors. Got a steady job. Took care of them in their final years, doctor appointments, legal paperwork, hospice visits. Alex? Dropped out. Moved back in. Blew through their savings trying to launch a spiritual wellness brand on TikTok that never made a dime. They were present for our parents' decline, sure. But mostly in the way mold is present in a damp house, unhelpful, parasitic, and making everything worse. When our parents died, I already knew the will would fall on me. What I didn't know was how fast Alex would turn. The will was clear. I was executor. I got the house. The savings. The car. Everything. It wasn't about favoritism. It was about trust. Even the lawyer said, your parents made it very clear. They wanted stability for their legacy. Alex didn't take it well. They showed up at my apartment 3 days after the funeral. I need a place to stay, they said. No, I replied. You have 2 bedrooms. I also have boundaries. They laughed. But it wasn't funny. You're unbelievable. You think this is fair? They left you everything. They left me what they didn't want you to waste. That was the first real fracture. The first time I said it out loud. They stared at me, mouth open, rage rising like steam. You think I don't deserve anything? And here's the thing. I didn't answer. Because the truth? They didn't. The next day, I got a text. Alex. Give me $20,000. You can spare it. Otherwise you're just a selfish, money-grubbing bitch. I stared at the screen, numb. Not shocked. Not sad. Just hollow. Because that's what happens when someone you grew up with, someone who once shared birthday cakes and bunk beds with you, decides that your grief is a transaction. They didn't want closure. They wanted compensation. I didn't respond. Not out of fear. Out of strategy. Because Alex had made one fatal mistake. They underestimated me. They thought guilt would work. They thought being the screw-up gave them leverage. They forgot who cleaned our parents' bodies when hospice stopped showing up. They forgot who found the will. Who managed the bills. Who signed the death certificates. They forgot who held the family together. And now? They'd made it a war. But I wasn't scared. Because this time, I wasn't fighting for peace. I was fighting for justice. The thing about guilt is, it's only effective when you've got something to apologize for. Alex knew that. And they also knew I'd spent my entire life being the responsible one. The fixer. The forgiver. The fallback. So when brute force didn't work, when demanding 20 grand like it was a vending machine transaction failed, they switched tactics. And that's when the real game began. It started with a phone call from Aunt Carla. Morgan, she said, her voice tight, like she was trying to hold back a flood of judgment. Alex told me what's going on. Here we go. I braced myself. She launched into a monologue, equal parts pity and pressure. They're in a terrible place, sweetheart. Emotionally, financially. You know how sensitive Alex is. And after losing your parents, to leave them with nothing? It just seems a bit harsh. I almost laughed. Did Alex also tell you I paid off their DUI fines last year? Or how they drained mom's credit card on a healing retreat that ended with them getting kicked out of a yurt for smoking weed? Silence. I didn't think so, I said. Over the next week, the calls came in waves. Uncles. Family friends. Even a second cousin I hadn't spoken to since middle school. All suddenly concerned about Alex. All gently suggesting I share the inheritance. The kicker? Each person said the same thing. Alex told us your parents meant for both of you to get something. That the will was a mistake. That you were supposed to split it. That's when I knew. Alex had started spreading a lie. Not just a suggestion. Not a misunderstanding. A deliberate, fabricated narrative that I had stolen the inheritance. I called the lawyer. Is there any chance the will could be contested? I asked. She sighed. Legally? No. But socially? Sure. Your sibling can stir the pot all they want. Doesn't make them right. I asked for a certified copy of the will. She overnighted it to me. 28 pages. Initialed on every corner by both parents. Dated. Signed. Witnessed. A handwritten note from my dad on the last page. Morgan, we know this isn't easy. But we trust you. Use this to build something lasting. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for doing what's right. I stared at it for a long time. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I made a Google Drive folder. Title, Proof. Inside it? The will. The signed letters. Screenshots of every payment I made for Alex. Receipts. Bank transfers. Every voicemail that started with please and ended with manipulation. I wasn't just preparing for war anymore. I was archiving it. Then I got an email. From Alex, subject line, let's be adults about this. The body of the message? You're clearly not going to do the right thing on your own. So here's my offer, $30,000, and I'll stop telling people you cheated me. Otherwise, don't blame me for what comes next. No signature. Just blackmail. Disguised as diplomacy. I didn't respond. Instead, I uploaded the email into the folder. Then I started drafting my own letter, one I planned to send to every single person Alex had poisoned. And I was going to tell them the truth. With attachments. Because if Alex wanted to play this game in the court of public opinion, I was going to bury them in receipts. And when it was over, there'd be no doubt who the villain really was. Families don't run on love. They run on debt. Not financial. Not even emotional. Blood debt. The kind where your existence is a tab someone else thinks you owe them for. Where being born into the same family means they get to claim pieces of you, your time, your money, your silence. Alex believed they were owed. Because we were siblings. Because they were the emotional one. Because I was the one with a stable life. But here's the thing about debts. They only have power if you choose to pay them. And I was done paying. I didn't answer Alex's extortion email. Instead, I did exactly what I said I would. I sent my email. Subject line, clarifying the inheritance situation, please read. Body. Hi everyone. I've recently learned that misinformation is circulating regarding my parents' will and the distribution of their estate. This has created unnecessary confusion and placed unfair scrutiny on my character. To be clear, my parents left me their assets by design, not accident. The will was executed legally, witnessed, and notarized. No promises were made to split anything. I've attached documents that reflect this truth, including the certified will, receipts of past financial support provided to Alex, and communications that show ongoing manipulations. You're free to form your own opinions. But I refuse to let lies stand in place of facts. Sincerely. Morgan. Attachments. PDF of the will. Screenshots of my financial support to Alex. Alex's blackmail email. My father's handwritten note. Then I hit send to 26 people. Within an hour, the silence broke. Aunt Carla. I'm so sorry, Morgan. I had no idea. I feel sick about what I said. Uncle Dean. The email from Alex is disgusting. I wish I'd known the truth before calling you. Rachel, our cousin. That letter from your dad made me cry. You're doing the right thing. I'm proud of you. Even Grandma, who hadn't said a word since the funeral, called me. You have more of your father in you than I ever realized, she said, voice trembling. He'd be proud. But not everyone was silent. Alex responded. Not with an apology. With a Facebook post. Some people care more about money than family. Some people would rather be right than kind. Funny how inheritance brings out the true colors in people. I'm done being silent. And that would have been the end of it, another vague, self-pitying martyr moment. But I had supporters now. And one of them? My cousin Rachel. She commented under the post. You mean the inheritance your parents chose not to give you? The one you tried to blackmail Morgan over? Sit this one out. Mic drop, 32 likes. 7 other family members liked it, including Grandma. Alex deleted the post within 10 minutes. The next day, I got another email. This one shorter. You've made your point. Hope it was worth it. I didn't respond. Because here's the thing about blood debt. When the debtor stops answering calls, the collector has no power. And I wasn't indebted anymore. I wasn't the fixer. Or the scapegoat. Or the ATM. I was free. But freedom doesn't end with a declaration. It ends when the other person realizes they have nothing left to take. And Alex? They weren't quite there yet. But they would be. Soon. It started with an Instagram story. A black background. White text. Nothing direct, just vague, bitter poetry. Funny how some people can sleep at night knowing they betrayed their own blood. The next slide? A blurry photo of our parents' old house, the one I now owned. The one I'd renovated with my own money. Captioned. Must be nice to inherit your personality in the deed. Cute. Passive aggression was Alex's favorite language. But I was fluent in it too. Only I didn't play passive anymore. I didn't respond. Didn't repost. Didn't subtweet. Didn't crawl into the arena they built from half-truths and hashtags. Instead, I let them spiral. Because the truth? You don't fight someone who's already drowning. You just take away the audience. But Alex didn't stop. The next day, I got tagged in a Twitter thread by a mutual acquaintance from high school. Not naming names, but I just found out someone stole their sibling's inheritance and then sent the whole family a receipts email like a corporate HR manager. Yikes. I clicked the thread. It was clearly about me. People were replying. Speculating. Adding their own stories of betrayal. Of selfish siblings. Of family drama. Alex had told them something, some version of our story. And now I was trending in someone's niche trauma narrative. At first, I was furious. Then I remembered, the louder someone screams, the less they're being listened to behind the scenes. So I waited. The shift came when Alex posted a video. It was supposed to be a heartfelt confession, one of those front-facing camera monologues that start with, I didn't want to have to say this, but. They framed it like a mental health diary. Said I had cut them off for no reason. That I was hoarding our parents' legacy. That I weaponized documents to win the narrative. They even teared up at one point. Comments flooded in. People who didn't know us rallied to their side. Heart emojis. Virtual hugs. You're so brave for speaking out. And still, I stayed quiet. Because I knew something they didn't. Narrative is a fire. Start it too fast, too soon, and it burns out before the truth catches up. I sent one message. Not to Alex. Not to social media. To our lawyer. Do I have legal grounds to request a cease and desist if they continue misrepresenting the will publicly? She responded. Absolutely. You also have defamation grounds if this affects your reputation or employment. Want me to draft something? Yes. Yes, I did. 2 days later, Alex received a formal cease and desist. Certified mail. Signed and delivered. And just like that, the video came down. The tweets disappeared, the story stopped. And the apology? Never came. But I didn't need it. Because I wasn't playing to win anymore. I was playing to end it. I posted one thing. Just one. A photo of my parents' old mailbox. Freshly painted. My name on it in clean, black lettering. Caption. Legacy isn't something you inherit. It's something you honor. I didn't tag Alex. Didn't mention them. But people saw it. And they understood. Before all this, I used to think lawyers were only for emergencies, big, dramatic events that required courtrooms, suits, and gavels. Turns out, sometimes a lawyer is just what you need when someone keeps throwing pebbles and calling it rain. Alex didn't come at me with a lawsuit. They came with smears. Whispers. Weaponized sob stories and public sympathy. And when I didn't cave, they pushed harder. Until I stopped reacting like a sibling and started responding like a defendant. Her name was Claire. A state lawyer by trade. Wicked sharp. Ice calm. I first hired her during the probate process. She handled the paperwork, answered the questions, kept everything clean. But now? Now I needed something more. Have you dealt with a situation like this before? I asked, after filling her in on the social media posts, the guilt campaign, the whispered lies. She paused. Then smiled. Let's draft a strategy. Step 1, cease and desist. Already done. Effective, but temporary. Step 2, documentation. I turned over everything. Emails. Screenshots. The will. Text messages. Even audio from a phone call Alex left on my voicemail, slurring threats between sobs. Claire organized it all. This isn't just harassment, she said. It's a reputational hit job. We're building a case file. Step 3, communication lockdown. No more direct messages, Claire said. Let me be your voice. From that day forward, anytime Alex sent a message, email, text, voicemail, I didn't reply. I just forwarded it to Claire. And Claire? Claire responded. She sent a formal notice. Further attempts to malign, coerce, or publicly defame my client will result in escalation to civil court. Continued digital harassment may also be reported to relevant platforms for violation of community and legal standards. This is your final warning. 2 days later, I received a single message from Alex. You really brought a lawyer into this? Over family? I didn't answer. Claire did. Yes. That's when the tone shifted. Suddenly, Alex wasn't raging anymore. They were pleading. Can we just talk? I didn't mean for this to go that far. Let's figure this out. Like adults. But I knew what that really meant. They weren't sorry. They were scared. Scared of exposure. Of consequences. Of being the one who finally ran out of second chances. Claire had one more suggestion. If they keep contacting you, we file for a protective order. It's aggressive, but it makes a statement. I didn't do it. Not because I was afraid. But because by then? I didn't need to. They were already unraveling. The final move? Claire helped me create a family estate disclosure packet, a simple, public-facing version of the legal facts. I sent it to every extended relative. Posted it on a private site. Locked it with a password. Gave access only to those who asked. Within a week, the silence was louder than the smear campaign had ever been. Because when you stop playing defense and go full legal clarity, the people who fed off ambiguity lose their appetite real fast. Cutting off family feels a lot like grieving the living. There's no funeral. No condolences. No casseroles. Just this quiet, invisible death where the person is still breathing. But the relationship? Buried. And for the first time in my life, I stopped mourning the loss of someone who never deserved my loyalty in the first place. The turning point wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with screaming or threats. It came on a Tuesday morning with a text from my mother's sister. Aunt Naomi. She was the last relative still on the fence, kind, but cautious. The kind of person who says, I see both sides, even when one side's holding a knife. Her message read, I know things have been hard. But blood is blood, Morgan. You only get one sibling. Maybe it's time to move forward? I stared at that sentence for a long time. You only get one sibling. As if Alex was some limited edition artifact instead of a manipulative adult who'd tried to ruin my life. I took a deep breath. Then I sent my reply. I only get one life. I'm not spending it cleaning up after people who poison it. I wish Alex peace. But we're done. I didn't wait for a response. Because this wasn't a debate anymore. It was a boundary. In the weeks that followed, the silence got deeper. Family chat threads? Dead. Holiday plans? Vague. Empty. Unsent. The family that once buzzed with performative love had gone eerily quiet. Because I hadn't just said no to Alex. I'd said no to the entire system that made their behavior possible. The enablers. The apologists. The ones who asked me to be the bigger person every damn time while Alex got to be the emotional tornado no one wanted to confront. Then something surprising happened. One by one, new voices emerged. A cousin I barely knew messaged me. "You probably don't remember this, but Alex borrowed $500 from me at a family wedding 5 years ago and never paid it back. You were right to cut ties." Another wrote, "I stopped bringing my kids around because of how Alex talked to them. I just didn't say anything. Thank you for being the one who did." Even my dad's old coworker sent me a message. "Your parents would be proud. They talked about how strong you were all the time." That one made me cry. Cutting ties didn't leave me empty. It left me clear. Clear-headed. Clear-voiced. Clear about who I was and what I would no longer tolerate, even from blood. Because sometimes, keeping the peace means sacrificing yourself. And sometimes? It means letting the bridges burn and learning to live without the smoke. I sold the house a month later. Bought a new place 2 states away. Fresh start. Smaller city. No ghosts. I didn't tell anyone where I went. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the need to explain myself. Because the version of me who needed their approval? She was gone. And the version that remained? She wasn't just surviving. She was rebuilding. I thought I'd seen every trick Alex had. The guilt. The gaslighting. The quiet manipulation behind closed doors. But I hadn't seen desperation. Not like this. It happened 3 weeks after I moved. I was at my new place, bare walls, half-unpacked boxes, the smell of fresh paint still clinging to the air, when my phone started vibrating nonstop. Not texts. Mentions. Social media exploding. Instagram. Facebook. Twitter. All pointing to one thing. A live stream. Alex. On camera. Melting down in real time. They weren't crying. Not yet. They were pacing. Rambling. Talking into their phone like it was a confessional and a courtroom all at once. "I just want to be heard," they kept repeating. "Everyone's acting like I'm some villain, like I'm trying to take something that wasn't mine. But I needed help. And Morgan, she just shut me out. Like I'm trash." Viewers were flooding in. Dozens. Then hundreds. Some were strangers. Some were family. The comments were a mix of sympathy and skepticism. "You deserve support," red heart emoji. "Sounds like you're just mad you didn't get money tbh. Is this the same Morgan who sent the email? 'Cause that will look legit. Take accountability for once." That's when Alex cracked. They started crying. Real tears. The kind that come from a place of panic, not pain. I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose to be the messed up one. I tried. I really tried. But she made me feel like garbage. She made the whole family hate me. Then, they did something that made my blood go cold. They held up a photo. One I'd taken years ago, me, Alex, and our parents, sitting in the backyard. Smiling. "This," they said. This was before she decided I didn't matter. And in that moment, I felt nothing. No guilt. No pity. Just the detached awareness that this wasn't about truth anymore. This was a performance. And every performer eventually runs out of lines. The video got flagged for emotional distress content and was taken down within the hour. But the damage? Already done. Not to me. To them. Because what Alex didn't realize, what they never seemed to understand, was that people can smell desperation. They can see the cracks when someone's story doesn't line up with reality. And the moment that livestream ended, I got more messages than ever. "Cousin Rachel. That was unhinged. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Aunt Naomi. You were right to walk away. I should have said that sooner. Claire, my lawyer. Thank you for forwarding this. I've got everything I need for the next step." Because here's what Alex had done with that meltdown. They'd admitted, publicly, that this wasn't about justice. It was about control. And once they lost it, they didn't collapse privately. They broadcast it to the world. And the world? It watched them fall. Reputation is a currency. And for years, Alex had traded in mine like it was worthless. Twisting conversations. Telling half-truths. Weaponizing my silence while polishing their victimhood into something shiny enough to pass for gold. But after the live stream? The market crashed. And I was holding every receipt. The first thing I did was contact Claire. She watched the video before it was taken down. "I've seen worse," she said. "But not by much." Then she told me what I already knew. This is no longer about protecting your name. It's about documenting the collapse of theirs. So we began the process of assembling the final dossier. Not for court, yet. But for reputation insurance. Because if Alex ever tried this again, anywhere, with anyone, I'd be ready. The file was broken into 4 parts. Number 1. The financial record. $12,943.62 in documented support over 5 years. Credit card bills in my name that I'd paid off for them. Rent receipts from the apartment they'd temporarily lived in and never paid for. A spreadsheet that ended with a red total and a timestamped final note. All debts forgiven. But not forgotten. Number 2. The will and legal docs. Certified copies of the estate plan. Letters from our parents. A notarized addendum that reaffirmed their wishes with explicit language. Alex is not to be a beneficiary of any estate holdings due to repeated financial irresponsibility and behavioral concerns. Claire made sure that one was highlighted. Number 3. Screenshots and communications. The blackmail email. The emotional manipulation texts. Every post. Every passive-aggressive story. Every moment they tried to twist the truth into something weaponized. Claire wrote a cover letter. These records demonstrate a consistent pattern of harassment, dishonesty, and public defamation. Should further issues arise, this document will serve as evidence of intent and history. Number 4. Witness statements. Messages from cousins, friends, even Aunt Naomi now. A dozen short declarations of support. One from our parents' neighbor, who wrote. Morgan was the one who showed up. Who cleaned, managed, wept, and stayed. Alex didn't lift a finger. I'll testify to that any day. I kept this folder offline. Secure. Not because I needed revenge. But because I needed truth. Some people carry trauma. I carried documentation. And I wasn't afraid to use it. One day, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. Then came a voicemail, from someone who used to work with Alex. They said, "Hi Morgan, I'm sorry to bother you, but I've been hearing a lot of things from Alex, and something didn't feel right. I found your email from the estate folder. If you're willing, I'd like to hear your side." I sent them the link. They replied 3 hours later. "Thank you. That was more than I expected. I won't be working with Alex going forward." That's when I realized. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reputation reclamation. Alex had spent years building a narrative on borrowed credit. And now? The receipts were past due. I never expected a letter. Not from Alex. Not after everything. But one afternoon, months after the live stream, after the cease and desists, after the last crumbling fragments of their social credibility turned to ash, I got one. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name, inked in Alex's frantic scrawl across the envelope. I held it for hours before opening it. Not out of fear. Out of readiness. Because this wasn't just a message. It was the last page of a book I never wanted to write. Inside were 2 sheets of notebook paper. Torn. Creased. Messy. But the words? They were clear. Morgan. I don't know how to start this. Maybe because I've never had to take full responsibility before. You were right. About all of it. About the will, about the manipulation, about how much I leaned on you without ever giving anything back. I was angry. Not because I thought you stole something, but because I knew deep down I never earned any of it. And that burned. I'm sorry for the emails. The posts. The lies. The live stream. All of it. You didn't deserve what I did to you. I thought making you the villain would make me feel better. It didn't. It just made me feel more alone. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect a response. I just needed you to know, I see it now. You were never the problem. I was. Alex. I read it once. Then again. And for a brief, unexpected second. I cried. Not for what was lost. For what could have been. Because there was a version of this story, somewhere in the multiverse, where Alex got help sooner. Where we healed together. Where the inheritance became a footnote instead of a battlefield. But that wasn't this version. This was the version where I survived. I didn't respond. Not to the letter. Not with a phone call. Not with a visit. But I did do something. I added it to the folder. Scanned it. Archived it. Filed it under a new tab, closure. Because that's what it was. Not reconciliation. Not reunion. Just acknowledgement. And for me? That was enough. Because you don't need revenge when you already have peace. And you don't need an apology to move on. But when one comes, you let it land. You let it change nothing. And then you go back to the life you built while they were still burning bridges. People talk about legacy like it's something you inherit. A name. A house. A bank account. But the truth is, legacy isn't what's left to you. It's what you choose to carry. And after everything, after the lies, the guilt, the letter, I finally knew what mine was. And what it wasn't. I sold the last thing that tied me to Alex 6 weeks ago. My parents' old vacation cabin, a quiet, lakeside place 2 hours from where I now lived. I'd held onto it out of guilt. Memory. Obligation. But every time I walked through it, all I could see were ghosts. The times I cleaned it alone. The repairs I paid for. The weekends Alex promised to help but never showed. So I listed it. Sold it within 2 days. Used the money to start something new. A scholarship fund. In my parents' name. But not just for academics. It was for caretakers. Siblings. Quiet helpers who do the heavy lifting and never get the credit. Applicants had to write one thing. A story of the time they showed up when no one else did. I called it the Legacy Grant. Because legacy, for me, was no longer about what I inherited. It was about what I refused to pass down. I never told Alex about the fund. It wasn't for them. It was for me. For the life I built from ash. For the boundaries I bled to protect. For the version of myself that survived the betrayal and chose not to become bitter, but better. The last photo I have of us, me, Alex, and our parents, sits in a box now. Not because I hate it. But because I don't need it displayed to prove I had a family. I carry the parts worth remembering in my own way now. In letters I write to myself. In clean rooms with no lingering tension. In laughter that doesn't feel forced. In silence that no longer feels like punishment. I'm not a victim. I'm not a villain. And I'm not the caretaker anymore. I'm Morgan. I'm the executor. Of the estate. Of the truth. Of my own effing life. And that's the real inheritance.